It's Daybreak. Now let's take a look at what's making the headlines in the papers from around the world this morning. This day leads with President Muhammadu Buhari's speech during his presentation of the 2022 appropriation bill to the joint session of the National Assembly. Petrol subsidy eroding revenues available to fund budget. Presents 16.39 trillion appropriation bill to the National Assembly, says defense remains priority. To finance deficit with fresh 5.01 trillion naira borrowings, President of the Senate, Lawan, flags high level of budget shortfall, while Speaker of the House of Representatives, Gbajabiamila, assures of quick consideration of the bill. APC, that's the president's political party, proposed spending will accelerate economic diversification. Of course, the major opposition party quickly reacted. The PDP, more pain, suffering for Nigerians. And finally, the rider there, fiscal plan has high-sounding figures, clothed with borrowing, says the coalition of political parties in Nigeria. Lawmakers expressed divergent views on the 2022 expenditures, obviously, from the reactions we're getting so far. Story is also in this day. Above the nameplate this morning, PDP's NEC backs Governor's Zones Chairmanship to North, signaling a sudden presidency. DIFA's attempt to present Bala report, let the people decide, says former vice president and former presidential candidate as well, Atiku. Northern members disagree over microzoning, and good news, UK rules out quarantine for fully vaccinated travelers from Nigeria. All of these and more, you can get a copy of this day.
And in the Daily Trust newspaper, UK medication. Gbajabiamila, governors, others spend millions to visit Tinubu. 265 million naira expended on trips. Lagos governor unveils pro-Tinubu group. Another headline here, the UK to recognize Nigeria's COVID-19 vaccine certificate from October 11. Finally getting clarity on that issue. Moving over to another one. Anambra, federal government backs Malami on possible state of emergency. And just at the bottom, Nigeria's proposed 16.39 trillion naira budget raises more questions, less hope. Find that report on page 21 of the Daily Trust newspaper.
Moving over to the Punch today. Headline here also leading with the 16.39 trillion naira budget funding. Sell refineries, moribund assets, reduce deficits, economists and the National Assembly tell President Buhari. Address insecurity, do not impose multiple taxes on manufacturers, the ex-LCCIDG. Block tax loopholes, impose levies on luxury goods. Economics counsels the federal government. And above the nameplate of the Punch this morning, fully vaccinated Nigerians need no pre-departure test or quarantine. That's to the UK. That's on page 7. Also beside that, experts are celebrating the malaria vaccine breakthrough. Also another headline here on the Punch this morning, chairmanship, the People's Democratic Party governors insist on North, and the NEC adopts the zoning report. All this and more on the Punch newspaper.
Well, as expected, all the national papers, some of them are leading with the budget presentation by the president yesterday. The Nation also leads with that, says why we halted planned petrol price hike by Buhari. Lawmakers get 16.39 trillion naira appropriation bill, explain approval for loans. And INEC has a final list for the forthcoming Anambra elections. That's above the nameplate. Solu Uba, Soludo, Ozigbo, Okonkwo for the poll. UK relaxes rule. That's another recurrent headline this morning. And Naira recovers amid low dollar demand as Maina's son, Faiza, gets 14 years jail term for money laundering. That's the Nation this morning.
Well, for the press review, Emmanuel Bello joins us from our outside studio. Good morning, Emmanuel. Good to have you. We kickstart with This Day newspaper. The president presented the budget yesterday, and he's saying petrol subsidy eroding revenues available to fund the budget. Lawmakers expressed divergent views on the 2022 expenditure. What's your view, Emmanuel?
Well, Abuja was the center of all sorts of things yesterday. Politics was going on one side, and of course, the economy also took center stage. And at the heart of it is the budget. And for the president, this is a make or ma budget. He's already said it, that it's like the last full budget that he will be involved with. And he's very serious about this. You can see his body language, and he tries to say all the right things about what it's a budget that we practically summarize his legacy in power, and so he's doing everything in his power to ensure that it's a great budget. But of course, all sorts of views, and this day tries to capture all the aspects of this budget. If you pick a copy, you probably will get all the stories you're looking for around the budget crisis, whether it is the issue of the deficit around the budget, or the kind, or even what the budget is facing, focusing on. I'm sure it's going to make an interesting read, generally, not only because it tries to capture every aspect of the issues around the budget, the amounts involved, what all the parties are saying, but also signaling what the budget, how the budget can be funded, which is also a very central issue. The president saying, already giving his own excuses for why he's having the budget may have a problem, saying that it's petroleum subsidy. But in other stories, the lawmakers telling him that, well, if you can sell off moribund assets, if you can sell off the refineries, and a lot of economists telling the president how to go about funding what looks like what is clearly a deficit budget even on the one. So this week, as we run into the weekend, papers are going to be running with these. Expect more analysis from the economists. Expect people looking at fact-checking the budget and asking what it can do for the various sector. The president very clear about it, say, but defense is going to take a chunk of it. And there are people who are happy. Even women are happy here with the budget, saying for the first time, the president is factoring gender issues into this budget and making it unique. Something to make Adeswa and happy that women issues are captured in this budget. I think it's revolutionary for the first time that the president is clearly allocating something in the budget for the women. Makes it a little bit different, but by and large, there are people who say it's the same story. It's boring. It's the opposition parties say there's nothing inspiring about this budget. It's same old kind of thing. But the APC is saying it's a revolutionary one, and maybe with the issue of defense and all that. Yes, the budget. We're going to keep an eye on it.
Definitely, Emmanuel, and also here on Arise News, we'll definitely be talking more about the budget. Now, still on this day, newspaper above the nameplate today, PDP's National Executive Committee backs governor's zones chairmanship to the north, signaling a southern presidency. And now different opinions about that. Atiku says, let the people decide. The northern members disagree over micro-zoning. Emmanuel, what are your thoughts?
It's another interesting thing that came out of Abuja yesterday, the PDP, and PDP has been the story leading up to yesterday, very, very important meeting where the issue of chairmanship was discussed, and then of course they seem to have agreed that yes, the chairmanship will be zoned to the north. A very revolutionary thing that they want to start was saying, let us end zoning. Zoning has been with us for a very long time. The idea that power can stay in one place and then shift to the other place. But for the first time, a political party, is saying that look, zoning is not the answer. And you have Atiku, former vice president, strongly weighing on that and saying it doesn't matter where the president is from. What matters is someone that can be a unifying factor, someone that has all the merit, someone that can actually do the job. Is by far one of the most revolutionary things any politician can say about this subject. In the past, you have a situation where the president is from really matters to the party. But PDP seem to be sounding that like saying, well, it doesn't really matter. Let us do away with zoning. it's an issue that is going to generate more controversy within its rank. Already, even the issue of zoning is beginning to generate all sort of talks within the party. They are done with that now. I think the next focus will be who is PDP going to back as the chair of their party. I think as we go into the weekends and even leading into next week, newspapers will begin to go to the back of the story to look at all the moves that have been made. Who are the big players? Who are the people coming forward to say they want to lead this party? Already, David Mark's name was mentioned the other day, even though he denied that he's interested in that kind of position. So those are the sort of stories we'll be doing, and looking at also the issue of zoning the presidency. What articles say is very profound.
Right. Indeed, a lot to look out for. And just to mention that the finance minister will be breaking further down the appropriation bill, the 2020 appropriation bill today. So that's something to look out for more details on that bill. Let's look at the nation, Emmanuel, very quickly. I think a story that has not appeared in any of the previous one we've talked about is the list, INEC list for the candidates for the Anambra Guber polls. Uba Soludo Zigbo Konkwo all seems set and well for the election in Anambra State as we count down. Became very controversial and heated with the comments by the AGF about 48 hours ago, but INEC seems prepared.
Yes, and INEC started INEC through its boss started the whole talk of how safe elections are in Anambra, and this they led with it boldly some 2 days ago. And of course, since then, all sorts of things followed. We have the Attorney General on one hand talking about the emergency rule. You have the governor of the state running to meet with the president and coming out to say, no, there's no threat for emergency rule in Anambra. Though another paper seems to be suggesting that there's such a threat on the ground. But Nation is reporting that INEC is ready. And it's actually outlined the list of the candidates, and it seems to be ready for the elections. Are their fears allayed now? Are they ready for these elections? We have just a few more days to the election. I think our eyes are on Anambra State to see how these elections happen. On one hand, you have the separatist group who are saying they don't want the elections to happen, and then you have the federal government that is bent on having the elections. At the end of the day, if the elections take place, it will be seen as a victory for one side of the divide. But for now, INEC is saying that, look, the lists are out. We've not had the last word from INEC to know whether they're really ready to go into Anambra and conduct the elections. But the president meeting with William, with the governor yesterday, good optics for those who are concerned about elections in Anambra State.
Perhaps that last word will come sooner than later. And thank you for your last words, Emmanuel Bello.